This video is sponsored by Miniswap. Alright you lot, welcome back. We've got another new reveal. Mondays turn out to be chock full of new miniatures and I'm quite happy about it. This time though we've got some Age of Sigmar action, and this is a surprising reveal, not because of the faction it is involved with, the Daughters of Khaine. In fact technically it's two. There's two things, because there's a new unit and new scenery. This is because it does something that by and large you don't really see when it comes to the Daughters of Khaine. Because the Daughters of Khaine have got something going on that I think is fairly prevalent across the range, and that is a relative lack of stuff covering skin. Now, that's not a criticism of that, it's just what they look like. I mean, when you look at the Witch Elves, when you look at the Sisters of Slaughter, I mean, even when you look at the Blood Sisters, you know, these are half snake ladies. They've still got a bit of the old bare midriff going on. Even the lads have got their chests out, right? And again, it's not a criticism, it's just part of what makes their range stand out as much as it does. Like, this is a fairly sadistic group, and they are styled appropriately for that particular sort of personality choice, if you will. And the thing is, it is an extremely distinctive look. Like, looking through this range, it is one of the things that contributes to the Daughters of Khaine being extremely recognisable very, very quickly. And it's something that serves them really, really well. The thing is though, this new unit takes a little bit of a change. It takes a little bit of a shift away from that. And even though the armour on these new Blood Hags is very, very familiar, there is something going on under it, which I actually think Games Workshop have managed to blend what the Daughters of Khaine have for the rest of the range with something that actually changes them quite a bit. So the Blood Hags, they have got their traditional Daughters of Khaine armour, but then underneath that, we've got a little bit of bodysuit stuff going on. And for my money, that by itself feels like a relatively significant departure from what we're used to from this faction. Like, aesthetically, that does read as quite different to a lot of this. Obviously, the dark background does make a difference, but when you're looking at what the actual unit looks like, there is a definite shift, but it's not a bad shift. I think they've actually executed it super, super well, because this lot don't just look good for, you know, being Daughters of Khaine models and part of that range. They look pretty solid all round. Now, before we get into checking them out properly, this video is sponsored by Miniswap. If you are looking to expand your collection, if you're looking to start a new army or expand an existing one, or if you've got a bunch of stuff lying around that you are simply never going to get round to, you should give Miniswap a look. Miniswap is an online marketplace for your miniatures, whether you're buying or selling, and it's built by hobbyists for hobbyists. It has an ever-increasing catalogue, wow, to 999 listings, which is bigger than it was last time I checked, which was literally like 2 days ago. There is always new stuff being added, and it looks like Age of Sigmar has just had a whole load of stuff put on here from wargame bits. So we've got Dark Oath Marauders, Fell Riders, as you can see, all new on sprue and all cheaper than buying from Games Workshop. In fact, just for reference right here, the Dark Oath Marauders are £35.50 from GW. If you wanted to grab them from Miniswap from wargame bits, £26.90. It's not just new in box and new on sprue stuff you can get though. If you wanted to build up an army without having to go near any sort of glue or brush yourself, you absolutely can. As we can see right now, Nirvana Wargaming has got a bunch of Tyrannid stuff up for sale. This is all stuff that you could just put down on the table without having to do anything else to, and you'd be set. If you sign up to Miniswap using the link in the description or in the pinned comment down below, you'll get 0% selling commission for the first 90 days, and your first order will have free shipping. Thank you very much to Miniswap for sponsoring the video. Now let's take a look at some Blood Hags, shall we? Okay, first up, I really like the poses on these. I think they've done the poses really, really nicely. You've got a good mix of in motion and kind of prepared poses. I think as well, the ones that are in motion, there is a good amount of momentum behind them. That is, to be fair, something that I think they do really well with the Daughters of Khaine forces overall. Like, that entire range, the things that are sprinting or fighting, they really feel like they are sprinting or fighting. The Daughters of Khaine as a whole is a range that's got a ton of movement. They tend to nail it. They tend to nail it. It's one of those things that I think even with all the improvements that Games Workshop's made over the years, there will be the occasional miniature or squad that they've clearly tried to make it appear as though they are doing some sort of action. They're performing either some sort of attack or they are, you know, sweeping down, or even swooping down if they're a flying miniature, and it looks static. Like, it doesn't happen all that often these days, but it does still happen at times. I feel like overall, the Daughters of Khaine as a range doesn't really have that problem with really any of the miniatures. They've done a really good job with them. They look lithe, they look fast, they look dangerous. Like, they've properly nailed it for the most part. And for my money, this unit is absolutely no exception to that, right? For a start, if we look at the squad leader there, I'm assuming squad leader, since we've got a fancy, like, knee plate there that's a skull with horns sticking out. She looks great. Like, she looks properly in motion, and I really like the pose with the sword raised behind the head. That looks really, really good. I really like the hair as well. The hair on these, them all having these blades and hooks that are attached to the end of their hair, it looks so, so good. Another thing is the different bits of armor for the legs. So depending on the model, you've either got one leg sort of up-armored compared to the other. I like that a lot. That makes it feel as though each set of armor is a little bit personalized, which I just really I like when they do that with any unit, to be honest. I do appreciate, like, when it comes to things like Cities of Sigmar, for instance, or if we're talking like Space Marines, it makes sense for everyone to have the same suit of armor, effectively. But at the same time, I really love those little bits of customizability where it sort of feels like everyone involved in that squad or in that army has got a little bit of their own personal, like, preference when it comes to their armor. As someone who's just addicted to tinkering with any squad that's over 2 people, like, I can't help but try and make everyone at least a little bit unique. That kind of approach just out of the box, that always makes me happy to see. I always like it when they do that, and that's exactly what they have done here. The weapons, they're okay. I'm not really feeling those as much as just the rest of the models in general. For some reason, they look a little bit weak, but I couldn't really tell you why. I think it's just because you've got, like, a two-pronged... Is it? No, it's not a trident. You can't have a two-pronged trident, because tri is 3. I don't know, a fork? I don't really know what to refer to it as. Like a sort of double-bladed polearm spear thing. It's just not quite doing it. It doesn't look dangerous enough. The thing is, I think for me, the rest of the stuff they have going on, like those masks, the helms, the crowns they have, those look kind of dangerous in and of themselves, right? The blades on the end of the hair look dangerous. Those kind of curved hook shapes look dangerous. And then the actual weapons are a bit... They don't look like they do much, I think is the problem for me. Which is a real shame, because I think the poses in which they've been sculpted look really, really good. And again, there's a nice variety of poses going on with those weapons. I would just... If they had a different head, if it was like just a normal spearhead, or maybe some sort of standard single-bladed glaive approach, I think I would like that a lot more. I think it's the only thing that lets them down. Literally every other part of these models I really, really like. It's one of those odd situations where they've nailed literally everything else for my money. They've absolutely knocked it out of the park, except for one part of something that is hugely important, and that's, in this case, the weapons. Now, of course, a fairly big departure in some ways when you compare these to, say, the Witch Elves and the Sisters of Slaughter is, of course, the fact that they've got those bodysuits on under the armour. I do like the way they've done it, so there is still, like, a nod to the other units going on there, though. They aren't, like, fully covering them. There are these little gaps here and there. I don't know if those like, cutout sections are present on every single one of them. It's a little bit difficult to tell. I think they probably are. But again, it seems like there's a bit of variety as to where those gaps in that clothing are, which is just another little bit of, like, customization, a bit of personalization. Like, the one in bottom left there's no real gaps across the shoulder or across the arms, and the arms are, like, fully armored. Compare that to the top right, where there's just a couple of gaps, and then one of the arms is totally lacking armor on the upper part. I really like the distinctiveness of that. It just makes every single one of them feel a little bit more unique. The Blood Hags really look like they belong, but they do look like something a bit special, something a little bit different. There is a distinctiveness there, even though like the armor style and the overall design is very, very similar to the rest of the Daughters of Khaine range, which I know, you know, they have to look similar because it's all part of the same range. But sometimes when it comes to trying to make things a little bit different, you end up with something that doesn't quite match, or is like uncanny valley, where it's like, well, this sort of looks like it's part of the same thing, but there's odd things about it that don't fit just right. I don't get any of that from these. They just look great. There's also some scenery in the form of the Shrine of Dark Tribute, which is a great name. I mean, it's fine. It technically matches. Like, you can't really look at that and go, oh, well, I don't think that fits in with the rest of the range when that exists. But the thing is, that already exists. And I don't know that they needed this, but made of stone and no wheels. I know there isn't a big statue on the back, and I know there aren't a couple of lasses on it, but overall, I don't know, it's fine. It's fine. I will say, the actual stone steps look good. I like the big orb of whatever the hell that is in the middle, and the massive, like, brazier on top that's got all this shadowy energy, that looks nice. I think it is the blades, and then the more blades, and then the extra blades on top feel like an afterthought compared to the rest of it. It feels like someone went, that needs to be more spiky, and someone said, okay, I'll put some spikes on it, instead of going, alright, but do we need it to be spiky, or could we get away with doing something that would be a bit more, you know, visually interesting, given what they can already get, you know? Now, I know at least one of you is going to be sitting there and saying, well, you like the fact that these look, you know, in keeping with the rest of the Daughters of Khaine range. Are they not just another bunch of women with some armour and weapons? That is true, yeah, but for me, there's more of a difference between the up-armoured nature of these compared to, say, the Witch Elves and the Sisters of Slaughter, you know, two more, you know, 10-person squads. There's a bigger difference between these three units, and the way that these are presented is, you know, visually interesting in its differences, right? For some reason, though, even though this follows the same principles, there's something about it that just isn't interesting enough to make me look past the fact that it is so similar. There's just nothing grabbing me about it. It feels like a bit of a mishmash of ideas, really. And I think that might just be the biggest problem that I've got with it. It's the fact that the stairs and the platform, the kind of altar section, that stuff all looks good, and it does look a bit different to that, but it looks, you know, inspired by. But then combined with that, it just feels like, here's a bunch of extra Daughters of Khaine stuff that we need to stick on this to make it appropriate, and that, I don't know, it's just not doing it for me, that, you know? This is, of course, all down to there being a new battle tome on the way, so yeah. Anyway, I'm going to stop rambling at you now. Thank you very much for watching. Let me know what you thought of that lot in the comments down below. In the meantime, feel free to click all the things. Thank you to Miniswap for sponsoring the video. Make sure to check them out using the link in the description and in the pinned comment down below, and I will see you for the next one.